Hey, what's up? Jeff Ratcliffe here. Things didn't go as planned for the San Francisco 49ers last year with Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt partway through the season. It wasn't the year that we expected, but there is a lot of exciting young talent on the 49ers. So let's preview for 2019 fantasy football, the San Francisco 49ers. And I think the most fascinating part of this team is the backfield, because you have three guys who in the past have shown that they can put up some fantasy numbers in Tevin Coleman, in Jerick McKinnon, in Matt Breida. All three of these guys in the backfield, and now we have this three-headed monster situation. So what do we do for fantasy purposes? Is there value to be had? It's very tricky how to approach this, but I think one thing is clear as we enter the season. Of those three, the guy most likely to lead the team in carries, to be the early down back, is Coleman. We saw that in his time with Atlanta, that there were times when Devontae Freeman was out and Coleman would have that 15 to 20 carry range that really is that feature back role. So he's the most likely back given their size profiles. You know, Breida and McKinnon are shorter backs. Not that that's a knock per se, but lighter as well. So Coleman really fits the bill the best as the early down guy. But that being said, he isn't guaranteed to lead the team in targets. In fact, I don't think he does. I think ultimately McKinnon, if he is over that torn ACL, is going to be that guy in this offense. And Breida sort of will pick up the scraps here and there. So with the touches being distributed the way that it looks like they will, it's going to be really tough for one of these guys to stand out for fantasy purposes, to be an RB2 or better, so a top 24 running back or better. It's just going to be really tough. In fact, I think that we're going to probably see Coleman and McKinnon right on the edge of that territory, so very likely front-end RB3s, but the touch volume isn't necessarily going to be consistent for either player from week to week, because it looks like their touches are going to be based mainly on game script. So that makes it volatile. Now, if you say, all right, Ratcliffe, I have to choose one, who is it? I'm going to go with Coleman, and the reason for it is pretty simple. I want the guy who figures to touch the ball the most. So while McKinnon may lead the team in catches out of the backfield, Coleman very likely is the favorite to lead the team in carries, means that he's the favorite to have the most touches out of the backfield. So I'm going to go with the volume here and go with Coleman, but it is pretty close between him and McKinnon. And really neither one of them stands out as a better value based on where they're going in drafts. So I'm going to go with Coleman there. Of course, I should point this out. If one of these guys gets hurt, then the other two now all of a sudden become that much more interesting. So if you said that Coleman got hurt, now I'm pushing in on McKinnon. If McKinnon got hurt, Breida becomes very interesting as a deeper guy. So just keep that in mind as this season goes forward here with this backfield. It is going to be a bit of a conundrum to start, but I think things will shake out, relatively close to how I envision them, which means Coleman's going to be the best fantasy option of the group. Of course, Jimmy G is back this year. Last year, he was the hype candidate. We know it. People were pushing all in on him for fantasy purposes. This year, you have the opposite reaction. He may be a post-hype sleeper this year who you're able to get at a discount on draft day. He's not going anywhere near as close to where he was going last year. So you get him at a nice value as a late-round guy. We know he still has upside, and there is some appealing talent catching the ball for him on this 49ers offense. So keep that in mind. A QB2 with upside with Jimmy Garoppolo. Of course, one of those guys who's catching the ball is George Kittel. And wow, last year was absolutely phenomenal for Kittel. 1,377 yards, 88 catches. He scored 5 touchdowns. Not a big touchdown number, but with the yardage total and the catch total, did it really matter? He was a monster, a breakout year. This year, you can expect Kittel to be drafted within the first 2 rounds, very likely the second round of your 12-team leagues. He's a beast. He gives you an advantage. Now, the question is, was last year his ceiling? And maybe it was, but, I'll take that ceiling. And where's his floor? It's probably still way up there compared to a lot of the tight ends in the league. So George Kittel in a nice position to produce yet again. Of course, at wide receiver, the wideout that stands out to me the most for the 49ers is Dante Pettis. Now, we didn't get a ton of Pettis last year, but down the stretch, if you remember this, from weeks 12 to week 15, right, he posted 4 straight top 25 fantasy finishes. So he flashed a decent ceiling floor combination down the stretch there. Of course, that was without Jimmy Garoppolo, so that should help his overall value. And if he stays on the field for the entire season, Pettis is a big-time breakout candidate this year. I have him just outside my wide receiver threes, but it would not shock me at all if he finished way ahead of where I have him. You don't have to pay a premium price for Pettis, but he's definitely a guy you want to be targeting for upside in your drafts. In addition to Pettis, Marquise Goodwin is there. I think we know what Goodwin is at this point in his career. He's a downfield threat, gives you some fantasy juice on occasion, but not the most consistent guy. So I don't know if we're looking at him. And the team also did draft Debo Samuel, a slot receiver who plays much like his namesake. He plays like a bully out of the slot. He's going to do a lot in the short and intermediate areas of the field. He's not a downfield threat guy, but they didn't need that in this offense. So he's a rookie to keep an eye on, especially in PPR leagues. I don't expect him to make an immediate impact, say, in September, but it would not surprise me at all if we saw Samuel's role increase and we saw him start to surface on the PPR radar down the stretch of the season. You want to see where all of these San Francisco 49ers land in our fantasy rankings? You can check those out and more at PFF.com.